because we can all agree that we all love this state. We all have a financial interest in this state. We all have a family that lives in this state. We care about this state. We respect everybody's position. That gives a view today, and we will agree, if not anything else, to disagree. What we're trying to do with this piece of legislation, and the legislation that was presented by Representative Nunes and other legislation that today, is we're trying to reach real solutions to a very difficult problem. Because what we have in the state of New Mexico, we have maybe 85,000 licenses that have been issued. And the revocation and rescinding of all licenses will create a black hole, and we need to find a solution. That solution should come through Congress. Congress has failed to take action. So as a result of Congress failing to take action, we have our sister states, and we're tearing this country apart. You've got Texas, who is opposing legislation to secede from the Union because they come in as a sovereign country. You've got bills in Arizona that affects New Mexico. You have judges that have made certain decisions on Arizona law and are making decisions throughout this country. You have Oklahoma that's making decisions. I had sponsored the Madison bill, which would allow for a constitutional convention to be convened on a single issue. That bill was tabled. That's the type of legislation that is landmark legislation, it's cutting-edge legislation that allows for sister states to convene a single issue constitutional convention and address issues that are not being addressed. What we're looking at is, by not doing this, we're creating migration of illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, undocumented people throughout this country. And you're getting a lot of recidivistic behavior as a result of that, as the expert provided testimony to you on. I've introduced this bill to provide our state with an opportunity and an alternative, which is legislation that allows the state of New Mexico and the legislature to address these problems relating to driving privileges should the state ban the driver's license to undocumented persons or start revoking these licenses, because the current law, as it exists, is licenses are to be issued, and is presented by Representative Nunes and his expert testimony that though the MVD, Motor Vehicle Department, is now going to start taking a hard look to seeing if there are Social Security numbers issued. The only way you get a Social Security number in the United States is you have to be a legal resident of the United States. So this issue is tearing the fabric of America about, and is about the failure to address, by Congress to address this issue. And New Mexico should take bold steps in addressing this, because without this workforce that contributes significantly to New Mexico, our industries of government, being one, energy, agricultural, and construction industries, without this hidden workforce, and call it what you want, that our economy, New Mexico, will suffer. Our industries have already suffered in the timber industry, in the industry of agricultural, and this would be a significant blow if we don't try to find some type of solution for this problem. New Mexico to date has issued to date over 85,000 driver's licenses to undocumented persons. Many of these individuals, again, are key contributors to our state's workforce. The agriculture and construction industries and sectors, both are multi-billion-dollar industries in the state and the source of thousands of jobs. And the counter-argument is, well, if you get rid of the undocumented workers in the state of New Mexico, then New Mexicans will have these jobs. Now, I can speak as a father, as a taxpayer, as an attorney that I've represented people for over 27 years. Those opportunities exist now. They exist now through competition. And my kid is not going to get up at 2 in the morning and do the type of work in the dairy industry, or do the type of work in the construction industry, and get up in freezing cold temperatures. And these are hard-working individuals who are productive individuals in the state of New Mexico.
Travis, we appreciate the emotion and support. We can't have that in this hearing. The decorum must remain. We can't cheer or oppose or scream or yell.
No, Mr.
Please
Chairman.
listen. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd ask the audience to refrain from that because these statements are not meant to receive any type of recognition at all. This bill is simply intended to look at an issue and take a hard look at it. And New Mexico should be in the cutting edge. I am sick and tired of New Mexico being the last state of everything. We always wait to get a gauge of the temperature of the United States to see what the United States does, what our sister states does, and then, if it's a good idea, if it works in other states, we take this balancing act and say, well, wait, maybe we're going to do this, or maybe we don't. Now, this bill will be in compliance with the Real ID Act. More specifically, the Secretary asked me about this morning about that, and that's specifically addressed in the bill because the license, it's not a license. This is not a license, period. This is a permit to drive only in the state of New Mexico. What happens if someone works in another surrounding state? We can't address that. That issue cannot be addressed. We can only address what occurs in New Mexico, and this permit is only valid for driving in New Mexico. So if you're driving out of New Mexico, I wish we could take and solve all the issues. We can't. We can only control what occurs in the state of New Mexico and what happens in the state of New Mexico. So on the guest driver's permit itself, will conspicuously state this permit is only valid for driving privileges in the state of New Mexico and is not proof of valid presence in the United States. So if an individual is driving in another state, it takes away the confusion of what is going on. If you don't have a permit and you're busted outside of the state of New Mexico, the consequences would be deportation, and that's the risk that you take. And why is that significant? Because I wholeheartedly agree. This is a public safety issue. There's no question about it. But it's very difficult, if not impossible, to go back in time and say 2020 vision is we should have never done this. It's been done. It is the law. We have to live with it unless the legislature of the state of New Mexico in this session takes the appropriate action either to do nothing, and then we keep the license law in effect, or we take a look at some of these measures that we're presenting before the committee. And I would believe that it would be a real shame that this, all the legislation, does not have the opportunity to come out of this committee, even with a no rep, to allow the legislative body to address this in full session on the House floor to debate the